Yeah, this is thanks to the excellent research by David Gozal, who's a specialist in sleep and children's medicine in the United States. And basically, he did brain mapping of children who had normal sleep and disrupted sleep, children who had sleep apnea. And what do you notice? And this is a real wake up, I think, for any parent listening to this podcast, that children who had undiagnosed sleep apnea lost 10 IQ points a year, right? Now, if you look at the average IQ for an adult in Australia, it's between 85 and 115. So Einstein was a genius. He was like the 140 scale, et cetera, right? Super intelligent people, 130 and above. Mr. Average, 85 to 115. So let's just say your kid is born with one of these conditions that affects their sleep, and you don't know about it. By the time they're ready for school, 5 years, you've lost nearly 50 IQ points, and they'll never recover. They'll always be at the bottom of their class. And there's lots of research to show when Ghazal has gone in and looked at children's academic performance and then linked it to their sleep, there's a correlation. So what we're saying to parents is this is not just about the things that you would think about, which is associated with your grumpy child not paying attention. It's really got to do with their brain mapping. The brain stops growing by age 7, right? So between 0 and 7 is an important time to get right oxygen to the brain. And if you have sleep disordered breathing, you're not getting enough oxygen. When we talk about sleep studies, one of the things we measure is oxygen desaturation in these children. So what does poor sleep lead to when it comes to cognitive development? Poor attention, poor memory, poor learning, poor problem solving, inability to execute functions, executive functions, we call it, like impulse control. And of course, poor academic performance. So these kids, depending on their level of apnea, definitely affects their ability to perform well at school. And so they will become, it's probably not a kind word of saying it, but they'll become a burden on society. They will not be the best they can be. And ultimately, they'll be part of the welfare system, right? So I just want the take-home message in that chapter: sleep is crucial for brain maturation, right? So when we look at what hours of sleep you should have, preschool, toddlers, if you want to call it that, 11 to 14 hours a day. Then you look at children when they start school, up what I call primary school, or just before they start high school, they need 9 to 12 hours a day. And then our teenagers, and again, we'll cover this in the book, but Australia has some statistics I'm not proud about. We have the highest rate of teenage suicide in the world. Is there a reason behind that? And if you look at all the research, Brain and Mind Institute, etc., you'll see that teenagers need to sleep 8 to 10 hours a day, but teenagers have the worst circadian rhythm. So there's a lot to do with the original development of the brain, and then, of course, the maturation of the brain as things go on. And we lead to adolescent depression, suicide, et cetera. But the take-home message of this chapter was to wake up the parents that their kids' academic performance, their concentration at school, at preschool, at home, those kids that are disruptive. I know as a clinician, I will have a young 4-year-old come for a consultation. They will either not look at me in the eye, and they will not answer my questions. They have a disorder similar to this, or the other extreme, the child who is jumping the walls, hanging on my operatory light, sliding up and down my chair, and that's disruptive behavior. And you only have to ask the parents, et cetera, et cetera. The point I was making with the medications, many school teachers push this thing, my kid, that kid is so disruptive, of the 30 in the class, he needs to be medicated. That's the wrong solution. That kid needs to be further investigated correctly for his sleep to figure out why his behavior is so bad. So that's really, a long-winded answer to a very important chapter.